The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Patrick Walker, and Derek Eagleton.
Hello, and welcome this morning to our version of The Break. Brian Broaddus here with Patrick Walker today, and Nick Harris. As you notice, no Ambar Garcia or no Derek Eagleton.
Changing things up.
So what they did is they put football guys together today.
Yeah.
They said let's get all the football guys together and try and figure this thing out.
That's tough.
How you gentlemen doing today?
Doing
Everybody
well.
good?
Yeah. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's been a while. I think, especially in the new studio, getting to host.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Derek last night. Derek's one of these guys that'll ask you to host. Like he'll call you like at 11:30 at night, you know, and say, "Hey."
That's when I got the text about this show too.
And thank you for answering the text. I
Absolutely.
appreciate you. Patrick and I we're married to this show, so we appreciate you looking at the bat signal and then showing up for work today. But we should have a lot of fun with this crew. Kind of want to do a couple of things if I could today, guys. If I could get these brand new computers we have working here, it's got to be a little bit careful. I want to dive into this Giants matchup a little bit and get some of your thoughts on some things that maybe we haven't talked about. Is there something in your mind and about, listen, we're focusing on this, but maybe we need to focus a little bit more on that. We'll do that in this the first segment here today. Second segment, I'd like to take the fans' questions. This is something that we do when I'm on 105.3 The Fan.
Always a good time.
Yeah, and if you want to text in your questions, we will read them in the second half, and I'll get my experts here to answer those questions for you.
Experts.
If you don't like their answers, don't blame me. You could blame them, but they're used to that, right?
100%.
We're all used to getting blamed for this stuff.
We stand on our heels.
And then in the third segment, I have some questions for myself, and it's a little bit of a kind of on the Friday segment that we do. Usually, Ambar Garcia comes up with a really kind of a fun segment on the final segment of the day of the show, and then we'll get our game predictions. By the way, you guys hate game predictions?
It's fun. I mean, it makes you think, and I always love to think. I love things that make me think. So
Yeah. You're never right though. Like always trying to predict the score. Like it's always just kind of like a.
I nailed it
it's
once.
Like,
I hit the nail on the head
13.
once this season,
Really?
but I mean it'll be
Which
one
game?
out of what was that? 2-3 games? Was it Rams?
Yeah.
Rams.
I can't remember which.
That was a
one it was.
scoregami. That would be really impressive.
That was-
No, it wasn't.
That.
It wasn't Rams. Then.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
It was Chargers 2017. It was
Okay.
Chargers 2017. But I mean, it
is.
Like you said, it's one out of like 17 regular season games, and I'll never be able to predict a playoff game because they never go the way I want them to.
Never do that. The one thing is, have you had the experience yet of picking against them,
Yes.
and then getting on the plane and going through the front of the plane with the coaches and all that, sitting there, and everybody, because everybody acts like they don't listen and they don't hear what you're saying,
they do.
or they read. They know every damn word you're saying today.
Last
every
year,
word they know.
First game against Philadelphia, which was in Philadelphia, I picked against them and I picked Philly to win. And unfortunately, I was right. Philly went on to win. So thankfully, didn't get any flack or side eyes going onto the flight or coming off of the flight. But I mean, you got a job to do.
You got a job to do,
and they're not going to go 17-0.
Right.
So the losses are going to come from somewhere. You just got to pick and choose which ones you really think they're going to take that L on. That's all.
Yeah, typically just get on the plane, put the blinders on, and I'm just
there
like,
you
all
go.
right, 20B. There,
Yeah, straight to the
Looking
Welch's
for the goodie
fruit
bag.
snack. Yes.
Looking for the goodie bag.
Straight to the fruit snacks in the water.
What do they
Yeah.
have on the
There we go.
entrees today? Meanwhile,
Yeah,
like,
what's on the entertainment? Just keep focused.
That's
right
where
here.
me and Hillman always got in trouble. We'd get on the plane, I'd follow him in, and we'd go through that section, and Garrett and all those coaches be looking at us like, okay, I saw you picked this week. And then there was really like, and then you would get back on the plane coming home and say you were right. Then that's where nobody really you just kind of took your tie and undid it and walked to your seat.
That's where you're trying to make eye contact.
Yeah, that's where you're like, I told you, SOBs, that you guys
keep that energy. Hashtag keep that energy.
That is the truth. Okay, guys, we've talked about the Giants are a team that's they're wounded in a lot of ways. They've struggled at quarterback. They've dealt with various injuries along the offensive line. Their defense is very blitz happy. We've talked about all those things. Is there something about this matchup that you're looking at like, listen, I think there's a storyline here, and I'm just gonna kind of follow it? Is there something that you're just kind of, well, maybe I could? I'm keeping an eye on this because at the end of the day, on Sunday, I'm going to write about this. Is there something you got? What do you got?
There are a couple of things. I'm only going to steal one because I feel like you might have another one. I'm looking at Brandon Cooks. We look at the secondary for the Giants this weekend, and not only are they young and inexperienced, they run more man coverage than anybody in the entire NFL. So there should be an opportunity for a speed weapon like Brandon Cooks to be able to get over the top of this defense. I would love to see a triple yard day from him. I think that would be huge. We actually made a bet this morning, me and Isaiah Stanback. I took the under just because I haven't seen it so far this season, and he took the over. But yeah, I think there's a really good opportunity here for Dak Prescott and Brandon Cooks to find some symmetry, and I hope I can see it. The thing with CeeDee Lamb that's just been so awesome in these last 3 games is the timing. And I know timing takes a really long time, and it's something that will take years to build. But when you have a veteran like Brandon Cooks, that process can be expedited because he's played with so many different quarterbacks. He's played with this very exact offensive system multiple times, going back to his college days at Oregon State even. There should be opportunities for him to take advantage of this Giants defense, and that's the biggest thing I'm looking at going into Sunday.
For me, I'm gonna look at the injury situation to Kevontae Turpin. We'll see what the injury report looks like today on Friday, but he's trending toward not playing against the Giants. So for me, that throws Deuce Vaughn right into the mix for me.
Okay.
I think this is going to be, if Turpin is held out, or even if he's not held out and Deuce is not on the inactives list for insurance purposes, I think this is a good opportunity for us to see not only as a returner what Deuce Vaughn can bring to the table, maybe earn himself the right to escape the inactives for the rest of the season, but offensively as well. Some of those Turpin packages, how does that mix out as far as, where do you want to put Deuce? How do you use Deuce in that capacity? I think some of those reps offensively will probably default to Brandon Cooks in this game to try to get him going. But as far as versatility in the backfield, maybe this is a game when Turpin is out. Maybe it's Deuce Vaughn on a jet sweep or something like that. So be real interested to see if Turpin doesn't go, exactly how they utilize Deuce Vaughn, because they've not been able to kind of figure that out just yet, which is why he's been inactive the past several games.
Patrick, I know that you always do a great job of when we have our show with the break and we start off with, we always do the injury things. Is there some things you want to update about any injuries and stuff like that? The injury that I was worried about was the Bell injury.
Right.
And that was the calf, right? And I reached out to somebody about that. But if you want to go ahead and kind of run through what you got on your injuries, that would be great.
So there were no changes on yesterday's injury report over Wednesday. So you're still looking at Marquise Bell limited with the calf, as you mentioned. Osa still limited with the hamstring, something else to keep an eye on. Tyron Smith still battling the illness, did not participate, but we've talked about that yesterday. Right. Sounds like that's just going to be the plan for him. And Kevontae Turpin, like we're talking about right now, he was DNP. He was outside of pads yesterday. He's trending toward not playing, barring a surprise. But Marquise Bell and Oso Digizua, those are the ones that you kind of want to keep an eye on, because although they've practiced and they've not been DNP'd yet this week, obviously there's something nagging them there that could kind of affect their play against the New York Giants. So what are you hearing, Brian, as far as the conversations you've had?
The one that I was really, really concerned about was the Bell one. Mm-hmm. And in talking to some people in the organization about that, he's trending, as you would say, in the right way. Yeah. As far as the Cowboys have had some bad luck with these calf injuries and stuff like that. I mean, you always worry about
Donovan to start training.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, oh no, don't worry about it. And the next thing you know, these guys are out. They miss entire training camps and stuff like that. But I was hearing from Bell that he had a good day yesterday. Nice. And they're progressing in the way that maybe. That will get him to the game on Sunday, because I think I can't imagine them being as light as they are at linebacker and him not being able to play.
Yeah, versus Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, against Barkley and all that. Talk about him. The rookie class has struggled with the contributions to, and that's going to happen. We love the way the Cowboys draft,
except for Butter. Yeah. Butter is butter.
Butter is butter.
I forget he's a rookie.
Yeah, but the rookie class, we're halfway finished the year, and it kind of is what it is right now. Mm-hmm. But talk about guys like with what you said with Bell and what your expectations for him were at training camp to where he is right now for your team.
Yeah, it's being able to step into that second level. I think if you had told me even in the second week of training camp, hey, he's going to be your starting linebacker for a majority of the season and he's going to fill in and do a great job, I'd be like, all right, so what else are you smoking?
Right.
Pass it around if you are.
Exactly. And so, what he's been able to do as an undersized linebacker and come in and fill these running holes, he's done such a great job with it. I mean, he's showing a lot of experience in that way. And we were able to talk to him going into his first start as a linebacker and just being able to talk about that transition. And he was like, I actually did this at Florida A&M. I had to step in and do this a few times. And whenever Dan Quinn brought me in for the first time after I got signed, he pointed to that and he's like, that's the reason you're here. So they're able to manifest that in only his second season. An undrafted free agent, not playing like one. And I think if we're highlighting our expectations from training camp in this sense, I also want to highlight Wanye Thomas in that same exact way. Because he's been able to show a lot of similar things.
I'd like to get to him too,
Yeah, not necessarily as like a safety linebacker hybrid, but more so as a safety guy who has just been awesome in coverage whenever he has been on the field. For some reason, we haven't seen him the last couple of weeks, but whenever he is on the field, he's making an impact.
The thing for me with Bell and both of those gentlemen, and great job on them kind of staying the course through the practice squad stint last year as a rookie, never dropping their head, never dropping their chin. They, just continue to work. But with Bell, the thing was last season, he was being bred in the same lane as a Donovan Wilson and what Donovan Wilson brings for Dan Quinn. So going into year 2, that was my expectation. But of course, then, you draft Overshown and you create packages for Overshown, but then you lose Overshown. But you don't want to lose those packages. So Marquise Bell, Dan Quinn taps into what he saw with him at Florida A&M. And to say that it's worked magnificently is a gross understatement. I mean, he stepped up big. And it's wild to me to see players like that, because let's be honest, and we've seen this over the course of the past few years as far as covering the Cowboys, flex doesn't always work in your favor. It's actually worked against the Cowboys in a lot of instances. But with Marquise Bell, it's working out perfectly. So now the question becomes, and it's a fun question to have, and it's foreshadowing for 2024, but when Overshown comes back, what do you do with Marquise Bell there? Like, do you drop him back and try to keep him as the safety and put him back in that Donovan Wilson lane as far as like the protege to Donovan Wilson, or do you just try to figure out, how to play those guys alongside each other, keeping in mind Damone Clark is taking strides as well. And then, of course, Leighton Vander Esch, presumably he'll still be a Dallas Cowboy in 2024. So love what I'm seeing from Marquise Bell. But like you said, if going into this season you had told me that he would have to be a convert to linebacker and he would not only do well, but he would impact games. Go back and look at the Chargers game. He helped bottle up Austin Eckler fantastically. I would say the same thing. Pass whatever you're smoking, because it's just some good stuff.
I think a question you would have to ask even sooner when it comes to 2024, a question you would have to ask even sooner, when Leighton is healthy, do you still get him reps and do you still rotate him in?
Him being Marquise.
Yes, exactly. We've been talking about it on Talking Cowboys this week. What do you do there? Because you have a defender who has been so awesome in the run game. He's athletic enough to be able to step back into coverage. He does some things that Leighton Vander Esch can't do just because of his athleticism, his leanness. How do you work that out? I think the only thing that I have qualms about is you can't replace Leighton Vander Esch's presence.
And that's the biggest
thing. That's
my thing is it's complete deference to LVE at that point. And it's not, yes, there are things that Marquise Bell is more athletic in than Leighton Vander Esch, but it's presence, it's IQ, he's your green dot, it's his ability to control and read pre-snap and communicate those things in real time, veteran savvy, that thing, Marquise Bell just doesn't have yet because he doesn't have those reps and those stripes just yet. So interesting conversation, and I'd love to see how it shakes out. But for me, Leighton Vander Esch comes back, that's who's going right back. And you don't siphon any of those, or at least not more than a handful of those reps away from him to get Marquise in. The bigger question is, how do you figure that out as far as the splits between like Damone and Marquise, for example? Assuming Rashaan Evans is still on the roster, how do you figure that out? But when LVE comes back, his role is still his role, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was the thing with I think having Vander Esch on the field is huge.
Yes.
We'll see how that all plays out. I give Dan Quinn a lot of credit. Give Bell a lot of credit. When Dan finds ways to get guys involved, he's got ideas for players and how to play them and where they need to be placed. I give him a lot of credit. As a former scout, I would love to work for a guy like Dan Quinn, because I know if I bring him a player, he'll find a way to use him in the right way. I just like it. Like, hey, coach, this is kind of like my vision of what I saw in the player, and he, and then you kind of present that. He gets on your team, and then Dan finds another way to use him, which is even bigger than the role that you had envisioned for him. I was going to ask about Wanye Thomas, and I know these safeties are pretty locked in to, when you start to talk about Hooker and Kearse and Wilson. How do you get Wanye Thomas on the field more? To me, I see a smart guy that plays personal protector on the punt. That's the guy that calls out the blocking scheme, makes sure everything's solid up front. He's physical. He's tough. He's smart. He tackles well. How do we continue not to see him? It's always special teams reps, and I get it. You're going to sacrifice snaps for guys that are starters, but I'm to the point now where I'd like to see him play some more defensive snaps. And I know your team's fighting for division titles and stuff right now, but I'd like to see him play a little bit more in these games. Am I doing what you're saying? Am I smoking something there?
No, I don't think so. I think, you look at an opportunity against the Giants this week, and big spread, 17 points. It's the largest in the NFL so far this season. If everything goes to plan in the first half, you'll be able to try some things out in the second half. And in the second half, I want to see Wanye get thrown in there. I want to see him at safety. I want to see him at nickel. He's athletic enough to play press man coverage.
Yeah. You saw some of that at Tech.
Yeah.
And do some awesome stuff with it. I know a big question mark around this entire team right now is if one of these corners goes down.
You got to find the word
exactly.
on that, yeah.
Who steps up? And especially if it's Jordan Lewis, what do you do there? Do you move Bland inside and then you put Nashawn Wright on the outside? You leave Bland out? I want to see what it looks like with Wanye at nickel, because if you're able to keep Bland on the outside, if an injury does happen, then you can put Wanye in there. Yeah, exactly. You can keep Wanye on there, and you can trust him in that sense. And he hasn't done anything, at least in my eyes, whether it be in the preseason or in his opportunities in the regular season, to tell you otherwise. He's only engulfed trust on every opportunity that he's had, and we saw a lot of him early in the season. And it had me thinking that he was going to be the key rotational piece in that secondary. Right. And then I don't know. The last couple of weeks, those opportunities have just been taken away. I don't know if that's matchup based or what, but it's just something to keep an eye on for sure.
Well, not dissimilar from the defensive line situation with like Sam Williams, for example. Dan Quinn has such an embarrassment of riches at that particular position, defensive line and safety as well, that it becomes difficult to try to figure out how, to your point, how you get these guys like Wanye reps over a guy like Jaron Kearse.
Right.
When you know what Jaron Kearse brings to the table, you know what Malik Hooker brings to the table, and you absolutely know what Donovan Wilson brings to the table. I'm hard pressed to figure out how to do that. In that instance, I would say let it happen organically. That could be by virtue of ... Right, I'm not going to say the word.
Doing that a lot today already.
Right, but it also could happen if you handle your business. Great point by Nick Harris. If you handle your business and you actually walk these Giants out of the stadium like you walked them out of their own stadium in week 1, now you start to get in a situation where you can start pulling starters middle of the third quarter, late third quarter. Now you can get these guys in. You can get Wanye Thomas and you can kind of move him around and get him game experience at nickel, which is a great one there. What I would rebut with there is, I think you would have to wonder if there were ... in the secondary at cornerback, nickel corner specifically. Izzy Mukuamu stepped in, and you look at what he did in the wild card matchup against Tom Brady, kind of like the big slot, big nickel guy, and he played extremely well. So even that goes to the original point of there's such an embarrassment of riches because Mukuamu has a high ceiling, but he can't crack the rotation.
Right.
Nashawn has ability. He can't crack the rotation. And I'm really against right now, because Deron Bland is settling in on the boundary, I'm really against moving him back inside should ... occur. So if you want to start experiencing, and if you're the Cowboys and you want to answer that question, blow out the Giants so you can put these guys in the late third and entirety of the fourth quarters. You can find some things out. Outside of that, if you have to play continuously close games going forward, you're going to have to continue to lean on your Jaron Kearses and your Malik Hookers and Donovan Wilsons. Is going to make it difficult for a guy like Wanye to crack through. But kudos to him, because when he's been on the field, he's been mostly fantastic.
I'll tell you what, I like what you guys are saying there. I'd just like to see him out there a little bit more. Yeah. I mean, there's him and Rico Dowdle and those guys, but I understand, coaches, I've always learned this, coaches they go with what they know. They until you show them, hey, there's a different way to do this, they'll keep going with the guys that they know. So that's probably why you're going to see what you see right now. All right, we're going to take our first break. I mentioned we're going to take your questions. I need you guys to light this thing up. The podcast text line, it's 817-290-3298. I'll give you a chance to grab a pen here real quick. 817-290-3298. We're going to take your questions next. Make sure you light them up. We're going to get my experts here to answer them for you, and we'll do that after this break.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
All right, here we go. 'Tis the season for youth football and dance camps presented by Invisalign. Don't miss your chance to learn from Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and former NFL players at AT&T Stadium on December 22nd and 23rd. Celebrate the holidays with the Cowboys. Register today at dallascowboys.com/camps. This segment of the break is sponsored by... Who's it sponsored by?
Blockchain.
Blockchain. I'm not on this show. I'm sorry.
Patrick, I thought you were going to help me out there.
I was waiting for the ding.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah,
I don't know the sponsors.
I thought Patrick was going to throw a blockchain
I was waiting for the ding. Beaver had to bring in the ding.
I tried. Following us today, by the way, Mix Shots at noon. My buddy Mickey Spagnola's got his show. Check them out at noon. Make sure that'll be a lot of fun with those guys. I'm going to give you that number one more time, because we do need your help on this segment if you want to get your question answered. By the way, leave your name and where you're texting from, too. Make you famous. 817.
One way or another.
Yeah, make you famous one way or another. 817-290-3298. Once again, 817-290-3298. My guy Nick Harris is going to handle the questions aspect of this. Patrick's got his computer up too. So, Nick, fire away. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. They are rolling in.
There we go. That's what I like to see, folks.
I'm going to start with one from the 210. Shout out to San Antonio, Texas. Beautiful place. Good morning. Do you think putting Micah in the middle helps this defense with Van Der Esch being out and Clark not being a difference maker? I believe it's easier to scheme against Micah when he's on the edge. Your thoughts? So a couple of things I want to address in the question itself first before we answer it. I believe he's asking, putting Micah in the middle as a pass rusher, coming off the top as like a zero tech or a one tech that he's done at times. I will say Clark not being a difference maker, I don't necessarily agree with that. You look at what he's done in the run game and being able to just do his job. I think when it comes to just doing his job and staying out of the way, he's done a good job of doing that. Is he the most impactful player on this defense? Absolutely not. But he serves a very viable role, and he's done a good job with that role in this season, in my opinion. As far as your question about Micah coming down the middle, there's a lot you can take away from that. You can't do it too much because the running game is obviously going to attack Micah Parsons on a consistent basis, and until he proves that he can be an elite run defender, it's going to continue to be that way. That's how they flush him out. That's how they get him questioning himself in the pass rush. That's his biggest negative, and obviously that's the thing he's been working on the most. So putting him in the middle on a consistent basis, that's only going to hurt him there, and it's only going to open up more holes in the middle of the field. I still like the distribution that they have, putting him in the middle for about 8 to 10 snaps a game and leaving him on the edge for the other ones. But as long as you keep him moving, that keeps the offensive line guessing, and that keeps the entire offense guessing as well.
Yeah, definitely disagree on the Damone Clark statement. What I will say is Micah Parsons, my stance on him hasn't changed from the past couple of seasons in that I would love to designate him as W, which stands for weapon. Versatile, move him around, and now more so than ever, you're seeing Dan Quinn not only commit him as a defensive end. Now, yes, he's taking some snaps as linebacker because Leighton Vander Esch is out, but you're also seeing Micah Parsons rush from the left. You're seeing him line up over guards. You're seeing him line up over centers. That's what I want to see from Micah Parsons. That's how I think you make it virtually impossible to scheme against him, because it's a game of where's Waldo. And on every snap, you have to try to identify where Waldo is. And the fact that you cannot do that is going to help him eat that much more. It's going to help free up guys like Osa, DeMarcus Lawrence, Neville Gallimore, Jonathan Hankins, and eventually Mozzie Smith as well. Chauncey Golston, he's starting to make an impact as well. Go back and look at that Eagles game. So for me, it's about moving Micah around. It's not about keeping him at full-time right defensive end. It's not about keeping him 80% in the middle of the field as a MLB, as a Mike. It's about getting him in positions to help him succeed, and those positions may vary from snap to snap. I love that.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, though, if he can continue to get centers like Shelton from the Rams that can't handle one-on-one, if you get Kelsey that sometimes is not strong enough, and then John Michael Smits this weekend for the Giants, not a very strong center. It doesn't have to be every snap, but there's some opportunities if you can scheme him one-on-one against these centers that aren't very strong.
Oh, yeah.
He embarrasses them. He really does a great job with that. All right, Nick, what else
This
you
is
got?
a really good one. It's very quick and to the point. Shout out to Mike in Virginia.
Thank you, Mike.
Who is wide receiver 2 on this team?
Jake Ferguson.
Wide receiver 2.
I said Jake Ferguson.
That's not a lie now.
I said what I
lie.
said. And we've said it, and I said it a couple times this week right here on this platform.
Yeah.
Jake Ferguson needs to be your number 2 target. He needs to be your number 2 look until further notice. I believe Brandon Cooks will organically begin to come along, and he might have an explosive game here against the Giants, going back to Nick's point to start the show. But Jake Ferguson is, outside of CeeDee Lamb, he's the hottest hand that you have if you're Dak Prescott. So he's coming along strong. He's showing you that he can probably be, as far as potential-wise in his trajectory, he could be what Witten was, a more athletic version of it, though, but what Witten was to Tony Romo, help me out, Novacek was to Troy Aikman, and Dalton Schultz was to Dak Prescott. But now you have a situation where you have a younger Jake Ferguson. Dak presumably is going to get into a new let that build, let that cook. So for me, don't force it to Cooks. It's going to come on its own, and CeeDee Lamb is going to get his. But yeah, it's Jake Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an answer there?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Me personally, I feel like it's Cooks, and I think Cooks has had some bad luck with the play calls that have. I think they're trying to scheme things for him.
Yeah.
I just think there's some unfortunate things that have happened that have not allowed him to be the beneficiary of some of the play calls that they're trying to scheme him with.
This is a really quick one I just want to address. I don't think necessarily we should go. We can if y'all want to, if y'all have an opinion. First off, he says, "Good morning, handsome gentleman." That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Shout out to the
My mom
626
agrees.
Pasadena, California. His question is, Jalen Brooks looked amazing during training camp. Wonder if we should give him a try as far as throwing him into the offense. Just want to address this really quick. If Kevontae Turpin does not play on Sunday, that's probably the guy that gets activated in his place.
Mm-hmm.
So you might get your wish on Sunday if Turpin is not playing. As far as another question, I had a really good one.
And thanks to everybody out there. By the way, the number, if you want to text in, 817-290-3298. Leave your name, where you're from. We'll get you on the air.
So this is Jose. He is from Dallas, but he's currently active duty in San Diego. Thank you for your
service.
Happy Veterans Day.
Absolutely.
How much of a thought do you guys think the coaching staff has given into giving Jalen Tolbert more snaps over Michael Gallup or Turpin if he's injured in critical downs? His development and progress has been great to see. Thank you. So if you look at the snap counts, honestly, in the last 3 to 4 weeks,
you're going right where I was going.
He's starting to cut into it already.
Yeah.
You look at what he did against the Eagles. this is my opinion. I'm not going to speak for the coaching staff. In my opinion, you look at what he did against the Eagles, and you have to be able to take away the fact that he can show up in those critical moments. He can be able to deliver you a touchdown drive and a touchdown catch in those moments. If trust is the only thing he's given you so far in 2023, why not put it back into him? So for me, I'm with you. I would like to see Tolbert get increased opportunities as the year goes on.
And I agree. And I think, like you said, the key word is organic. It's organically happening. Go back and look at the Philadelphia Eagles game. You get an early game drop from Michael Gallup, and kudos to Gallup for recovering and getting those 2 possession catches down. But you then saw after that, I don't think it was a coincidence that you saw some targets going to Jalen Tolbert after that. And then what does Tolbert do? He rewards you with a touchdown and a penalty drawn. So, I'm right there with you. I think it needs to continue to happen. I don't think we're at the point yet wherein Jalen Tolbert has surpassed Michael Gallup, but give him an opportunity to compete for those snaps alongside Michael Gallup and kind of make the best man win type situation.
Well said.
This is a question from Double R in the 732. Is the issue with the run game scheme/coaching or personnel? I'm not inclined to believe TP is a lesser of a running back because of his injury. I agree with that second sentence for sure. For me, it's a combination of things. It's not personnel. I could say that right off the bat. For me, it's a combination of things. One, it's offensive line consistency. I think that's been the biggest issue towards the running game this season. Guys just being able to stack good reps, and we haven't necessarily seen that on both sides of the offensive line. Right. And we haven't even had all 5 guys on the offensive line for a consistent amount of time. So that's the biggest thing for me. And also, I think there is a little bit of blame that you can put into scheme and coaching because I've said this a couple of times this week. Tony Pollard is a phenomenal complimentary back, and there's nothing wrong with that.
What are we talking about?
There's nothing wrong with that at all. Like he can be that receiving type of scat back that you can throw him out in the slot even if you want to at times. I don't want to see him downhill every time he touches the ball. And he's gotten 12 carries in his past 2 games, 12 carries in each of the last 2 games, and going downhill 85-90% of the time. And I just don't want to see him between the tackles every play. Do I want to see it sometimes? Sure,
I will
but
say
not
this
every time.
I wasn't the biggest Joe Philbin fan. They miss Joe Philbin. They do, in my opinion. I think that this group, and before that was who I call running game Moses, the Bill Callahans of the world, and all that. But yeah, there's something different about the way that I think there's things they're trying to do scheme wise. I think they're trying to double team at spots. I think they're trying to get guys at second level. I think they're trying to do all these things to run the ball better. But Joe Philbin had this crew running the ball a lot better. And maybe you missed the 2-back way of doing things. That's why I want to see more of Rico Dowdle a little bit. The one big run they had that was the holding play, that was a well-blocked play. They're capable of doing that. They just haven't. Nick talks about the consistency. They haven't done that enough. But I do think they miss. I do think that with Mike Solari, and I'm not. It sounds like I'm taking a slam at or a shot at him. But I think these line coaches, to me, when you look at the offense and defensive coordinator, the next most important position on your staff is the offensive line coach. And I think there's been a transitional problem here, with them and the run and the way that they're blocking right now.
I think agreed. And first and foremost, and we're all on the same page when it comes to this, offensive line play has to improve. And we can say that until we're blue in the face, but that's the fact. Offensive line play improves, you will see the run game become more effective. Now, secondary to that, but still key is something we talked about yesterday. It's complementary back versus being the RB1. With the departure of Ezekiel Elliott, now everyone or most people have what they wanted, which is Tony Pollard as RB1, but you have to understand that comes with a lot of the heavy lifting, the dirty work, the pass pro, the dirty plays that were going to Ezekiel Elliott. And then over the course of the season, now as we hit week 10, it starts to wear on him. You start to lose a little bit of that top gear, a little bit of that home run ability. And now guess who gets to come in with the fresh legs and now everybody wants to see more of? It's Rico Dowdle. Yeah. It's a formula, it's a pattern that continues to be prevalent. So whether it be Julius Jones versus Felix Jones, and then Felix Jones versus Lance Dunbar and DeMarco Murray and Lance Dunbar, it's always going to be easier for the complimentary back to come in fresh legs and be a little bit more explosive. So I don't think it's a personnel issue as much as it is just understanding that you're not going to see the 2022 Tony Pollard in 2023. That does not mean he doesn't have the explosiveness, doesn't mean he won't take one to the house. But again, go back and look at the Chargers game, for example. Dak Prescott makes the play, kudos with his legs, kudos to Tony Pollard for finding a way to get open in the field. He gets that, he rattles it off, turns it into a 60-yard yard gain, but why was it not a touchdown?
Right.
Because he didn't feel this guy.
Sure.
In 22 and 21, Tony Pollard feels that guy, and that's a home run. It's just RB1 duties are different, so it wears on you. So all of that kind of goes into play.
There are a lot of questions in here about Trey Lance. And
just at the last question, if you could. Let's get one more question before we go to break.
There's a progress report that they're wanting on Trey Lance. He gets in a pregame workout before every single game, about 3 hours before, with quarterbacks coach Scott Tolzien. Don't expect to see him this season.
That's what I said.
We can leave it at that. We can leave it at that.
Yeah, I think, to me, the way Dak is playing, the progress, I think what they're asking about is, and this is where, to me, you have like 20 some odd coaches on staff. There's got to be a plan that they have pre-practice, post-practice, where they put the scout team receivers or practice squad receivers out there and they go through things with him. So they're trying to bring him along. He's a smart guy. He's understanding what they're trying to do. If something were to happen to Dak Prescott, it's going to be Cooper Rush, and then you go from there. There is a plan for how he practices and how he gets reps. And, he's just not sitting there not doing anything. They have a plan for what they need to do. All right, we're going to take our final break, and we'll come back. I got some questions from my guys. Thanks to everybody out there that fired some questions in. I really, really appreciate you doing that.
Great stuff.
When we come back, we'll get some more questions to our guys that have a little fun with this. You're listening to The Break.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Don't put off getting your oil change, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Get a frame-worthy family holiday photo with Santa at the Star, presented by Monument Realty. Santa Claus will be at his Cowboys-themed cottage in the Star District from November 18th through December 24th. Book your visit before December 9th and save $5 with code STAR5. Visit thestardistrict.com/Santa for more info. Okay, we're back here with the break. We'll do some business about the pod pick, right?
Yes.
First sack, either team. Who's going to have the first sack for either team?
Cowboys versus Giants. I'm going to give it to Tank.
Tank.
Yeah.
Yeah, this morning on Talking Cowboys, I said DeMarcus Lawrence. So, yeah, give it to Tank.
I'm going to go with Micah Parsons.
Like it.
Safe bet.
I like it.
I'm going to go with Micah Parsons on this.
Safe.
You like that? Like how you guys just gave me the path right to the goal line right there.
Easy money.
All right. In our final 5 minutes or so here of the break, and by the way, thanks again to everybody that's listening out there. We really do appreciate you. Make sure you're checking out all these guys' fine work on DallasCowboys.com. It is a must follow these guys when it comes to that information. They live in this building. They're around it every single day. You're not going to find anybody better that covers this football team than these guys right here.
Brian.
Appreciate that.
All right. Questions that I have for my guys. Nick, I'll start with you on this one.
Uh-oh.
Cowboys player you'd like to have a podcast with?
Current or former? Or
Doesn't
both?
matter.
think we were asked this a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember.
Oh wow!
where.
I thought I was breaking news.
No,
here.
not at all. I'm trying. And I said Cavante Turpin just because he's just like a ball of energy at all times, and I just love people from Louisiana as well. So yeah, throw me in a room with Cavante Turpin. We're gonna have some fun.
And you said it could be past, present, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Michael Irvin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, podcast with Michael Irvin, because not only is it going to be energetic and fun, but I mean, incomparable football IQ. So all manner of football, all manner of Cowboys talk. Give me Michael Irvin.
I think there was a side of me that back in the day, like Thomas Hollywood Henderson, way back in the day when he was with us, and then I think I would think that maybe Micah Parsons. I love what Micah Parsons is doing with his
having fun.
He's having fun. He's honest. He just says what he says. He doesn't care. I mean, he says what he needs to say. So I think it'd be kind of fun to kind of chop it up with him a little bit. All right, Patrick. Game you'd like to be in Mike McCarthy's shoes for a day. You're the head coach for the Cowboys for a day in this game.
As far as opposition?
No, you get to be the head coach of the Cowboys. So you're the head coach.
Okay.
Give me the game that you want of this season that you want to be the head coach for.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Mine's the Panthers. I don't want to coach.
No, Philadelphia Eagles, because it's always sweet when the Cowboys can hand the Eagles a loss. But if the Cowboys can hand the Eagles a loss, and it's me pulling the strings on that, oh yeah, that's just early Christmas for me.
Nah, give me the Panthers.
You don't want to coach?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'd have some fun with it.
I'm okay with putting the guys on the field. I'm not going to tell them what to do though.
No, coaching is fun.
You don't want to call plays?
Maybe you
get that big old play card like
on Madden. I do coaches play, or I do the suggested plays. Like I'm not.
No, see, I want the challenge.
You want the smoke, right?
Yeah, I want the smoke. I want the Eagles smoke. Yeah.
I respect that.
I kind of feel like that. Like that Eagles game would be a lot of fun. I think if you had to do it over, maybe San Francisco to try and kind of figure out, navigate that one, even though it turned in. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about before. You're going into the game, not afterwards. We have to stand up there and answer your guys' questions about what happened. But yeah, I think the San Francisco game would be an entertaining one for me. All right, Nick. Have you ever been nervous asking a question to Jerry or Steven?
Yeah, I'm gonna steal the answer from Beam here. It's like, yeah, and asking for a raise. But yeah, there was a moment with that I had with Steven. It was before the season, before they went to training camp. I believe it was Steven's final availability before they went to training camp, and he was getting grilled quite a bit about the kicker situation at that point.
Oh God, yes.
It's like, hey, like, where's the kicker, basically? Yeah. And I'd asked him, I was like, is he in the building? And I was like, is he in the building?
Did you ask it real soft?
I was like, is he in the building? It was one of those.
It was one of those moments. How about you, Patrick?
I'm going to go with no here simply because, and this is giving roses to Jerry and Steven and just the front office in general. They're very self-aware. Like they're very aware. I mean, you see how they let us step in here and be objective in our analysis.
The team if you want.
We get an objective in our written analysis. And so when you walk up and you ask Steven or Jerry a question, I mean, they know if it's coming off a loss, it's probably going to be a question about how can this team improve. If it's ahead of the trade deadline, it's, well, you have some deficiencies here. What are you thinking? So I think because they're self-aware, it makes it easier to have a dialogue and a conversation because they're rarely defensive. Like I've not seen Stephen Jones get defensive.
Yeah.
So it's not often that you could say that when you're talking about those kinds of guys and in those type of seats of power. So kudos to those guys. I mean, they're very self-aware. They're very open to questions, and they don't run. They don't hide.
Yeah, and they're very personable.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're easy to talk to. They come down to your level, and it makes it simple.
Yeah, I just remember. Like working,
right?
You ain't wrong.
Yeah, it's not wrong at all. I'm sorry.
You ain't wrong.
When you do work for him though, and I've had the experience of being with them I've seen them really mad. Both of them really mad, and it makes you're thinking like, okay, do I want to ask this question and get them to that level again? If you something,
do I want to be the reason?
Do I really want to be the reason why they're about to lose their minds here? But no. But I think you both are right about it. Is they do they understand. They understand that you have to do a job, and they understand that, not all questions are going to be, as long as you're fair.
Right.
That's just as long as you're fair
and respectful.
Fair and respectful. That's all that matters for me. All right. A couple more questions here real quick if we can. How would you feel, Patrick, if Dak Prescott broke down your job on a weekly basis?
I would love it. I would love it. It would be fun to me, and because it goes back to what you said. So it's respect, right? We get in here, and every day we analyze and we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, but it's always respectfully done. So any criticism is always constructive criticism, and knowing Dak Prescott and knowing how he approaches life, he always looks at it from a constructive process. So I would love for him to step in here and break down me on a play-by-play basis, because I know even if I don't agree with everything he says, everything is coming from a constructive standpoint. And I'm not afraid to be coached. I'm very coachable. I've always been coachable my whole life. I've played most sports, team and individual sports, and just growing up in a big family, you have to be able to be kind of like the consummate team person. I'm the little brother to somebody, but I'm the big brother to somebody else. So I would love it. Hey, Dak Prescott, if you want to jump in here on this mic and break down this week's science lab, line by line, let's have some fun with it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm always somebody who's seeking out opinions and trying to figure out what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. And when you look at Dak Prescott specifically, he's one of the biggest competitors in the entire league. Yeah. And we were in the locker room yesterday, and he just kind of just stood up and he was like, "All right, who wants to smoke in ping pong?" Like, he's always looking for a competing a competition. So if he has that competing mindset, I want him criticizing what I got going on.
I like what you guys are saying there. I think it would be interesting for sure. They'd like to see how critical he really could be of what you're talking about on a daily basis. Whether I know on our end stuff we're talking like with what I do on 105.3, I'd love to hear him like, Broadus, you know nothing about the Mavs. That's terrible Stars talk right there. You know, you're missing the point on the baseball stuff. All right, my final question for you guys. Go-to item in the Star cafeteria.
Oh, man. I will say
churros.
Yeah, the churros are not a bad. That's not a bad one. That's not a bad one. That's not a bad one.
They're goated.
Gosh, there's been some meals that we've had down there at times. We had the chicken tenders are the go-to for sure. But if I had to point to like one day that I had just a phenomenal time in the cafeteria, it was when they had the Hispanic Heritage Day, and they brought in just food from everywhere.
They put their foot
country.
in that one.
Oh my!
State Fair Day is good too here.
It was so good.
Yeah, the corn dogs and stuff like that. Patrick, you got one?
Yeah, I'm going with the churros. I don't think the churros can be beat because not only it's not like what you'd find at one of the drive-through restaurants where it's like the 4 or 5. No, I mean it's
be careful here. Careful.
You're making me pause.
Yeah.
You're making me pause.
And they just ooze. There's so much in them. It's great.
Churros. I'm going to leave it that way.
Leave it with that.
Absolutely fantastic
All
churros.
Right,
Here
before we get out of here today, we always have to have a score prediction. Patrick, score prediction for the Cowboys-Giants game.
Not a trap game. Cowboys going focused. They do very well in avoiding 2-game losing streaks. Giants are just downtrodden and they're spiraling right now. I think the Cowboys just walk them out of the building, get up early, and it turns out to be a blowout. My first blowout prediction of the season is right now 46-7 on a garbage time touchdown from the Giants.
Very nice. I wonder if 46-7 is a score got me as well. Again, dartboard 41-13. I think they get out to a big lead, like you said. I think there's another defensive touchdown this week. Definitely looking at a lot of different things, though. I'm more looking at the intricacies of this game this week and how it can build momentum as the season goes on. But I think the Cowboys, they get out early and they win big.
Cowboys win this one 30-6
Nice.
is what they do. So that's it for our time here on the break. I want to thank Nick Harris.
Thanks, sir.
Patrick Walker. Thank you guys for allowing me to host today. I appreciate that. I want to thank Chris Beam, and I want to thank everybody out there who listens to the podcast daily. I want to thank all the people that texted in. As mentioned, we've got mixed shots coming up next for my guys. We'll see you Monday with some results and talk about this how this New York Giants game went. Take care. Have a great weekend.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!